So I decided to come into to spectate this game. I've gotten a lot of questions recently on how to raise your elo or just get better. That's pretty much the question I get. I'll get people to friend me, and I'm assuming they want to play a game and they just want to know how I raise my elo, or they want to harass me, or whatever. But usually it's how do I raise my elo? How do I get better? How did you move up so quick? And I really haven't moved up that quick. I went from 940, I think, to 1240 in like a month. And I have a full-time job, and I have a girlfriend, so I'm not on here all day, every day. But one of the things that I notice that a lot of people don't get is when you go into solo queue, especially when you're starting out, or if you're looking at this on how to raise it, this is probably something that relates to you. You have to be able to play every single role. You don't have to be amazing, but you have to be competent. You have to understand the basics. You have to be able to, I guess, be carryable, and not feed. I played today with someone who's like, oh, okay, I'll Annie, and I was 80 carry, and I went like 4 and 2, but they went something like 1 and 6 in lane. There's like nothing I could do to keep them from dying and feeding. After the game, I checked their lull skill, and it was their first time that they ever played Annie in ranked. They just assumed Annie was really good, but she is a good support, and decided to try her in ranked and basically played her like she was an AP carry. Had no real idea how to play her as a support. So when you're going into these ranked games, especially starting off, you have to be able to play every role. You can't go in and be like, I can only play top, I need to play top, otherwise we're going to lose. Because people are going to be like, alright, I'll lose then, because I don't want to play another role. I'm first pick, I'm going top. Fuck this guy. You don't want to have that kind of attitude. A lot of times you can go into games and say something along the lines of, oh, this is my preference, this is what I'm good at, this is what I'm bad at. Sometimes the people listening to, because they want to win, so they say, oh, this guy's a bad bottom lane, I'm an okay bottom lane. I'll do that so that we have a better chance to win. I mean, you don't get that all the time. It does happen. But for those situations where you have people that are, fuck this guy, I'm going to play what I want to play, you really need to be able to play everything, which includes support and jungle, which nobody ever wants to play. Or at least not support. If you have a mediocre AD carry and you go in and play support, and if you're pretty good, you don't have to be great, you don't have to be anything to write home about, but if you're pretty good and you help get them fed, they will carry the game. You will win. You got them fed, they won the game for you. So it's, you kind of won the game. And that's what you have to do. You have to carry these games. As you move up, it's going to get harder and harder and harder. Riot's going to want to put you at a 50% win rate. I mean, that's the whole point of moving it up to, you win some games, you lose some games. So as you move up, you are going to lose more games. That's just how it's going to be, especially if you're here looking for my advice. The other thing is you have to be able to play champions that are relevant if you want to be same skill level players. If you take a decent Poppy and put them top lane against a decent Renekton, Renekton should win the lane right now. That's just how it's set up. Renekton is like the king of top lane. He pretty much dominates the lanes. It is what it is. There's nothing you can really do about it. If it's equal skill, the Renekton generally should win. And there's a lot of that in different areas. What I'll like to do is I'll go on LoL skill or LoL King, and I'll take a look to see which champions are trending, what the win rates are, stuff like that. And if I can play that champion, because I do own all champions, if I can play that champion effectively, usually I'll try him a couple times in normal before I want to bring him into rank. That's something you should do. Take a look on LoL King, see what the pro players are playing, um, and use those champions if you are okay with them. I stress that you have to know how to play that champion. I will take, I don't know, an 80 bruiser Alistar who knows what he's doing top lane versus, you know, some random first time Fiora or whatever. Just because she's not going to know how to play. She's not going to know how to team fight. She's not going to know how to utilize that champion. So those are, you know, two very, very key things. Be able to play all roles. Be able to play effective champions. The other thing is you have to go into champion select and be friendly. Try to, you know, get the people to want to see things your way. You know, ask what people's roles. What are you good at? What are you bad at? Try to get people to switch lanes if they can. Do not go in and say, okay, well this person called this lane, so you can't have it. Don't say what they can and cannot do, because that's a good way to piss people off. And in low elo, people don't care if they win or lose. It doesn't really matter to them. So if you go in, you piss them off, you say, hey, you know what, you should play this champion. And they're like, oh, you know what, I don't really know that champion, or whatever, just, you know, shut your mouth, let it go. You'll see people that are pushy that are like, we have to have Vi jungle now. And you're going to get some fucking scrub that doesn't know how to play Vi, trying to jungle Vi, and just feed, not gank, you know, whatever the case is that, you know, a first-timer would probably do. And you can avoid that just by being friendly. The other thing is when to try and call a lane. If your first 3 picks, say what your first 3 preferences are. If you're, you know, first 2, say what your first 2 are. If your first pick, say what you want to do. Unless, you know, what I like to do is I'll say, okay, I main Jax tops. So what I'll say is, like, would like to top lane as Jax unless somebody else can carry the game, you know, from top lane. And if somebody says, okay, I could carry too, that's my best role, I take a look at their LoL skill, LoL King them, and they have a legitimate record. I also can jungle Jax pretty well, so then I'll switch to jungle. You know, stuff like that can make or break your entire game. It is very, very important. The other thing you can do is try to make light of when other people argue, diffuse the situation. A lot of people say, oh, just don't say anything if people are fighting. If you can break that up, you know, that gives you a better chance of winning the game. You don't have pissed off people. Anything you can do to increase your chances of winning, do it. I mean, it's not gonna, you know, it can only help. Once you get in game, pay attention to what your team says. If they say, hey, we're gonna invade, you know, if you don't think it's a good idea, you know, tell me, like, you know, we're gonna invade, the other team has Draven. Okay, well, a level 1 Draven is pretty ridiculous, so that's usually not a great idea. You know, let them know. They may not know, hey, their level 1 is a lot better than ours. And if they say, you know what, we're gonna go anyway, just go. I mean, they have a better chance probably with you there. You might as well go, and holy shit, that Vel'Koz's damage was pretty ridiculous. Try to do everything you can as a team, be friendly, and, you know builds for these champions that you are playing. If you're, you know, have your champion pool that you're comfortable with, make sure that you know the builds for that champion. And the build changes from game to game, generally. And the last thing, which was probably the #1 tip I have ever heard for winning ranked games, is just shut the fuck up. Like, if somebody's doing bad, shut the fuck up. Okay, you can't do anything. Telling them they're bad, guess what? That does not help. So when somebody's not playing well, just shut up. Shut your mouth, play the game. You know, typing at them or whatever doesn't help. If somebody else is giving somebody a hard time and it looks like that person might quit, you know, just say, hey, you know what, we're not going to help. Just play. And if that person tells you, you know, hey, fuck you, guy, you know what, just don't type anything back. Put them on ignore. I put people on ignore all the time because I'm a huge, huge rager, and you know, it probably loses me game after game. even though I know that I shouldn't do it, I still do it. So that's definitely a tip. Is just shut your mouth, shut right up, don't say a freaking word, because you can come back, and don't get discouraged. Other than that, I mean, if you guys have build questions or anything like that, I mean, I'm not the greatest player. Like, I'm probably I made it to gold last season, and then I went inactive to play another game, and I got demoted down into silver. And then I thought it would be fun to put all my games on YouTube from bronze up, and I messed up all my bronze games recording them. So I've done silver up, but I'm probably somewhere high silver, low gold. But I'll play with anybody if anybody wants to play. I can help give you advice. I own a vent server. Just make a comment or whatever, add me in game. I'd be more than happy to help out. But yep, that's it.